Hi, friends. This is your pal, Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Shadowdark. The Shadowdark session run by DMs Bluddworth at the Philadelphia Area Gaming Expo in January of 2025. So I got invited into this Shadowdark session, and it was a convention game. And today I wanted to talk about an aspect I did not like about DM Bloodworth's Shadowdark, and that is death. All right, so there were 7 players at the table, and we go through the Shards of Ymir, which is this adventure that DM Bloodworth wrote. We get to points where a character could die. So one, we catch up with a group that is also looking for the Shards of Ymir. The group elected to talk their way out of any type of conflict with that group, right? But someone could have died there. We also fought a Remoraz. Think of a purple worm in Dungeons and Dragons. We defeated that. At no point did I feel close to death or that any of that was dangerous. That was not a highly used combat. So, you know, then finally we get to this mountain pass that we have to get across in order to get to the Shards of Ymir, right? And so he explains, it's a thin, icy bridge that's very old, and you guys need to get across it, right? So you have to make these skill checks of dexterity and climbing, and so we do. And also, to be clear, it's clear just from time, it's a it's a 4-hour block where 80% of the time is gone. We're near the end of the adventure, right? So we all know that, right? So, and this mountain pass is over a 300 or 400 foot drop. We actually can't see. Well, you know what? That's interesting. We can't see the bottom, right? It's just fog, right? So, but we know this is very dangerous, right? So we start going around, and we start making our rolls, right? Well, get this: 4 out of the 7 players died on this slippery pass, right? And I'm like, wait, what? Are you kidding me? Right. So let's talk about that. I don't like the number. So let's talk about it. Okay. So first of all, I actually loved that there was a death mechanic in the game, a place where you actually could die, right? Because I think it's important that that there's real danger involved, right? And so the way I handle that in my Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition games is, if I don't have a death save in the game, I feel like in the session, in every session, I feel like I've failed. Right? Like, I feel like you need to bring danger. The adventure is in the this is an adventure. There needs to be some danger, right? So I was not opposed to someone in the 7 dying. And I actually think the right amount for this specific adventure would have been 1, right? Maybe max 2 out of 7 players, but the right amount would have been 1. But to see the majority of the players die off of the same trap, that seems like bad adventure design to me, right? And so and here, and you're like, well, if they were doing foolish things, if they weren't taking the, if they weren't doing what they needed to remain alive, maybe that's fine. But one of the things I thought was really interesting was I was at the table, right? Now, what is my Shadowdark expertise, right? So I have read Shadowdark, and I've played Shadowdark twice, okay, with 2 different dungeon masters, right? And so I'm not the expert on Shadowdark, right? I'm knowledgeable of it, but I would not. And so at the table, at least 2 of those players that died were far more familiar with Shadowdark than I was. They knew their character sheets, they knew their skills, they knew their abilities, and it didn't help them at all. It did not matter. So I feel like DM's Bloodworth did not actually honor system mastery. That's a major problem, right? So the fact that the majority of players died all on the same trap, right? And that those players were more skilled than the people who lived, right? Well, one of the people. Actually, the other 2 players were quite knowledgeable. The other 2 players that lived were quite knowledgeable of Shadowdark. And so their, mastery was, their mastery actually did matter. But I did not like that. I did not like that that the majority of the players died. Okay, next, the deaths were handled wrong by DM's Bluddworth. So let's get into that. So first of all, he's like, "You're dead," right? And they're like, "What? Are you kidding?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's Shadowdark. It's a dark game." And he's like, "Okay, and so let's say that player's name is Sally." He's like, "Okay, you're dead, Sally." And by the way, he did kill a female player. And I was like, "What?" Like, and so then he was like, "Okay, Daryl, what's next?" And it just like sailed past their death. Now, to me, at a convention, like these two people in this game traveled from Texas to be, in this game, right? Two people traveled from Huntsville, Alabama. These guys have, these men and women have traveled hundreds of miles to be here. If they had died in a convention session that I was running, I would have stood up and clapped and said, "Hey, thank you so much for playing. I'm sorry that there was such a grisly end to your player character, but you played them well." If they did, or say, "But it was an honor to, it was a treat to have you at the table," because every player is a treat to have at the table. We don't take anybody for granted, right? So he could have said those with truth. He could have like, but instead it was like, "Hey, you suck. You're dead. Who cares?" It was I did not think it was handled well, right? It didn't honor the time they had invested in the session. It didn't honor their, travel to be there. It was like, "You're dead, you suck, bye." Right? Actually, no, let's not say bye at the end. "You're dead, you suck. Let's move on to players who are better than you." I did not think it was good. It was very, very disrespectful to the players, in my humble opinion. All right, okay. Now, the next thing, okay? DM's Bluddworth did not handle any of these deaths well. He handled them very poorly. Here's the next one, okay? We're at a convention, and not a regular convention, a really good convention, right? So we don't know how much time is left, right? There could be 15 minutes. There could be an hour and 15 minutes left in the block, right? And the reality is, I don't think DM's Bluddworth knew how much time, right? And the reason why is, the dice can change things, a player can change things, right? So now we're at a convention that is filled with celebrities and cool things to do, and he did not excuse these players, right? He's just like, "Oh yeah, you're dead, but guess what? You're just gonna sit there and watch everybody else play. I'll just burn your time like it doesn't mean anything." Again, highly disrespectful to the players, right? And so I think he should have excused them and said, "Hey, you're welcome to stay if you would like to see what happens to the rest of the player characters, but this is a, engaged convention. Your time at the table is over, right? Nothing you're going to do is going to matter. And the reason why is Shadowdark doesn't have resurrection, right? So there's no need for you to be here. Why don't I release you and let you go enjoy the vendor room, let you go enjoy Mike Shea, from Sly Flourishes panel, let you go enjoy, Professor Dungeon Master's panel, let you go take pictures of LARPers, let you go do anything other than sitting here dead with nothing to do at this table, right? And you're just going to watch everybody else play." Highly disrespectful, highly wrong, not good. All the deaths at the table were not handled correctly, okay? Not handled correctly. And also, the last thing is, he did not respect, with these deaths processing, he did not respect any of the players in any way. I think it was extremely disrespectful. So the female player from Texas actually said, "Okay, so my body fell into the pass, but you said that we didn't see the bottom, right? So it's quite possible I'm alive. In fact, if this place is as dangerous as you say it is, there's probably a bunch of soft corpses down there and I can land on. Can we use some of the bennies in the pool, like those coins in the pool, to have my character fall on a soft corpse and then climb their way back up?" Right? Totally engaged player, using the resources that were on the table, right? And he just shook his head no. Like, no, you suck. Bye. You're done. You're done. One bad roll, you're dead. Nothing you did here mattered. Why did she even sit at the table? Right? Like, very bad dungeon mastering, in my opinion. Very bad. Right? Especially for a player who's engaged and is not just making stuff up, but literally using. The other thing is we had these pools, this pool of coins. What did you put the pool of coins there for, DM Bluddworth, if it wasn't going to do anything significant? Oh, so I can get a +1 on some stupid roll, and keep rocking on and playing, but this person's dead in a ditch, and the pools mean nothing, right? We could have gotten rid of all the coins in the pool for one resurrection, and then the 3 people who were currently dead could have made a really exciting, impactful decision, right? But no, just you're dead, you suck, bye, right? And actually, not you're dead, you suck. Now sit and watch everybody else have fun. That is terrible. It is highly disrespectful. Highly disrespectful. So bad. Then the other thing is, at the end, I felt so bad for the players who died. I said, hey, when we get out of the cave, the cave with the shards of Ymir, we get out, and I'm like, I want to go down and I want to recover their bodies and then bring them back up and bury them. And he's like, okay. And didn't do anything with it, didn't narrate it. It didn't matter. And the reason why is DM's Bluddworth did not care about any of those players he killed. He didn't care about them one iota. I didn't like that. I did not like that. I thought that was extremely, extremely bad dungeon master in that moment. Now, the game wasn't filled. I don't want to be super clear. Actually, the 3 players who made it out and were successful, actually one of the players actually got the Shards of Ymir, right? And then one player did, and then 2 other players didn't, right? I think the one player who got the Shards of Ymir really felt great, right? Like, the one player who didn't get the Shards of Ymir was like, okay, I don't know what, we went in to get the Shards of Ymir, we got nothing, 4 people died, what was the point, right? Like, and so, but those other people, I really feel it's kind of a bad experience for them. I don't think they had a good time, right? So, and yeah, I don't. I just really think that death was handled extremely badly, right? And even when I tried to honor those player characters, he didn't honor the effort I was putting in to say to those players, hey, it mattered that you were here. And I feel like their deaths, the way he processed them, really was communicating to them, you meant nothing at this table, right? That's just a piece of paper, and you're a person I'm going to forget in 5 minutes. I didn't like it. I did not like how DM's Bluddworth handled the deaths in this Shadowdark session. In my humble opinion, he could have done it better. Every single word you heard in this video is my humble opinion. Nothing more, nothing less. The important part is when I get to hear your humble opinion, and you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a fetch millennium.